Hello and welcome to another episode of Core Balance Coaching, where we get together once a week to talk about a different topic related to getting out of the back pain cycle for good. My name is Dr. Ryan Peebles, and I've dedicated the last 20 years of my life to better understanding and reversing the root causes of chronic lower back pain. It's been 2 weeks since my last stream. Had a lot happening in my life. So I'll update you a little bit on that, and just want to make sure everything is sounding okay. Hopefully the stream is not skipping. That's happened a couple times in the last few months. So anybody here live in the chat, if you could let me know if you can hear me and see me, and that would be nice because I don't know from my end. So, yes, for anybody, thank you, Magnarita, for letting me know. Sound is good. All right. So, I have a son now. And I know there have been a few people waiting to hear the announcement. We've been trying to keep the students updated in just the student hub with messages. And visual is skipping. Okay. Thank you for letting me know about that, Asti. That's the one thing that I just don't really know if there's anything I can do about while streaming. So that's a bit of a bummer. Thank you, Jesse Nelson. Thank you very much. Yes, we're very excited. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, so it's been a wild ride, actually. I think we announced that we were going into labor I have no concept of time, but labor started and kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going for 6 days. And so, yeah, it was pretty crazy. And my son Kai Benjamin finally came out on the 7th day. And so that was on April 1st. And so today's April 5th, so he's 4 days old, and we're getting the hang of it. First-time parents, my wife and I, Marina. So thank you for all the well wishes, and we're all doing well. Everybody's doing well. Kai's healthy. Marina's recovering after, they say birth is a marathon. Well, in our case, I think Marina ran 7 marathons, so she's recovering and but doing well. So yeah, we're excited. Yeah, Jonathan, I am aware it's a bit of a bummer that my visual is skipping, but if you can hear me and the sound is smooth, then that's just the best I can do in the moment. And for next week, there really is no topic of like back pain this week, except I am going to talk a little bit about just what it's like for me to get fully pulled away from my routine with how I maintain my body for 2 weeks, because it was a week of labor, and now we're going on 1 week of having a newborn. And so when you get out of your routine, and so I'll talk a little bit about that, and I'm sure everybody can relate to that in some form or another, whether it's having a kid of your own or setback or having to travel or any kind of thing that really pulls you out of your routine. It has an impact, and so I'm experiencing that right now. So how do I deal with that? Well, first I'll just admit to you that I haven't been able to do any of my routines. I haven't been good. I haven't been a good core balance training student. I haven't been getting down on the floor. It's just too much. And so I'm with those of you who struggle with that. And so even the teacher, even the motivator struggles with that too sometimes. And when that happens, it's definitely noticeable in my body. I'm noticing that I'm falling back into some old patterns. Definitely breathing just seems like, we've had a lot of stress. With the stress, we fall into stress patterns of breathing, which is more shallow, more just like higher up, in the chest, and my muscles that tend to tighten up under stress, the protection mechanism, the one that brings us into the fetal position slowly, gradually over time, those start to engage. I feel my hip flexors. I feel like my tight lats. Everything's kind of going in a direction that I don't want it to go. So what's worked out for me in this period of time, and I think that anyone can accomplish, is having had built a buffer of getting past the line of pain-free. So one of the things that I see people dealing with in the program, that we as the core balance training team of people, my sister and Melody and Marina and there's other people behind the scenes that you guys don't even know about, we see students who get to pain-free and then they go off on their merry way and continue their lives. But what I really want, and they may not have finished the program, that's the thing. What I really want for people to do is get past the line of pain-free and build a buffer of being able to do crazy things or fall off the wagon or whatever, and not go back into pain. Be able to have that space, that cushion that allows you to not be perfect and still be on the side of the good side of the line of pain-free. And so that's what's really helped me out during this time. And so I just encourage you to keep that in mind if you're going through the program. If you feel like you're making progress and then you reach your goal, man, I had 4 hours without pain. This is going great. Like, I'm almost there to my goal. No, don't make that your goal. Make your goal to improve your performance, to get not just pain-free, but to optimize your body so that you can go play tennis or volleyball or surfing or whatever and have a rough go at it, or dive on the floor and be able to get up and continue playing. So that's my motivation to you. And another thing that I've observed, so that's number one, is build the buffer. And number two is the other thing that I've observed is that when you take time off and you start to fall back into old patterns, and you go into your old patterns, your default patterns that maybe were the ones that got you into pain in the first place, it makes it even harder to get out of them the longer that goes on. And so to be able to, we have students that want to take breaks. Okay, can I take a week off or something like that, because I'm sore or because I've got to go traveling or whatever. That week can be drastically less impactful just by getting down on the floor maybe one time halfway through the week, or maybe even just for 5 minutes, to remind your neuromuscular system of the progress that you're making or trying to make. So I had a conversation earlier about muscle memory. Everybody knows the term muscle memory, and it's a real thing, and it's very related to consistency, to frequency of what you're doing. And muscles forget. I believe muscles start forgetting. It's not just muscles, it's the neuromuscular system. It's the nerve muscle system. They work together interconnectedly. It starts to forget after 72 hours of not doing the thing. So ideally, if you're going to take a break, you can still take a break and be able to keep that muscle memory of the core connection, of the back anchor connection, the front anchor connection, whatever it is, just by splitting that break up into less than 72-hour increments, and get down on the floor where you don't do anything that makes you sore. The back anchor doesn't make you sore. It just engages the electricity that flows to those muscles, and you don't have to do it intensely in a way that makes you sore. You can still be on a break, or you can still be on vacation in your hotel room, but just to bring that muscle memory back so that it doesn't go too long while, of forgetting that, because the longer it goes on, it's kind of like a compounding interest, but in reverse. It's an exponential effect of the longer you go without doing something, the harder it is to get that muscle memory back. So that's just number 2 is muscle memory, and that's kind of my soapbox for the day. So I'm going to take a look in the chat. I know there's been a lot of action in there, and I'm super grateful for all the congratulations from everybody. NPE, thank you very much. Lorraine Chambers, thank you so much. Kevin, I think I already read yours, and let's see. It seems like that some people are getting good connection without the skipping, and some people are getting the skipping. So kind of weird, but Pleasant View, thank you very much. Sherry, thank you very much. Yeah, we've had a lot of compliments on the name. I figure maybe I'll show you guys a picture of him. You can put a face to the name, and we're very happy with we didn't name him until he was born. We agreed that we could not name him until we saw his face, and we both saw his face, and we had a short list of like 6 names, and we both agreed immediately that this little guy looks like a Kai. So his name's Kai Benjamin Peebles, and he's my son. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, thank you everyone. This picture was taken within hours of him coming out of the womb, and I'm like, how does that? He looks like he's at least a few days old there, but he gave us the pose, and that was day 0 for Kai. So pretty cool. And we got a bunch of questions for today, and we got a student of the week too. So that's the focus of today, is going to be you guys. Thank you, Lorraine. And let's see, we've got some questions in the chat as well. So it looks like, I think what I'm going to do is any questions that came through up until now, I'm going to answer from the chat now. Any questions that come in after now, I'm going to answer a little bit later. I will get into the slides. So that's how I'm going to do it, because sometimes I can never catch up with the chat. So that's where I kind of decided that I have to like draw little lines here and there. So first, Troy, I don't know if you're here, Troy, but Student Hub Student of the Week again, because he's just been a powerhouse in the Student Hub, helping people out, answering questions, and we're grateful, and we want to reward Troy. So this is his 2nd week back to back. Well, there was no stream last week, so there was no student of the week, but so back to back and sequentially and he gets another month added to his membership. So there we go. Encouragement to you all. We see you, and we see you, Troy, and so that's our gratitude to you. So thank you very much. So let's go real quick to the chat. I'm going to answer the 2 questions that I saw come through, and then we will go into the prepared questions. So NPE says, I'm starting week 4 tomorrow, but I can barely hold my pelvis unweighted yet. I can barely do the back anchor progressions. I can't really hold my lower rib cage and pelvic bone to the floor during the front anchor awareness. Okay, so that the question has not been posed yet. So let's see if he says, and you say also congratulations, and I don't see the actual question, but I can assume, is it okay? The question's probably something like, is that okay? Or should I keep going? NPE, if you're here, feel free to finish your question, because you didn't get to the question mark part, but I'm going to go ahead and assume it's just kind of like, should I keep going or should I stay where I'm at? Oh, here. Oh, you also say, I do a lot of stretching, hanging from my hip hinge, just need some help, please. Okay. So, NPE. So the hope that I can give you is this, the one thing about the program that I'd like to change is the association with 12 weeks or a timeline or that you're behind, or there's no such thing. What matters is that you learn the connections at some point. It doesn't matter if it takes you 1 week or 1 year, but that you learn them, and then you build the layers on top of those connections, those foundations, once you learn them. You don't want to start building the structure on top of the foundations until you've learned the foundations. So back anchor and front anchors. It does not matter that you're on week 4. It's not good or bad. It just means to me that you're aware and you're being diligent and you're spending time on this stuff. And it could take you 6 months to get really, it probably took me, if this makes you feel any better, it probably took me 5 to 6 months before I really felt like I got the front and back anchor connections. I grasped them, and I had the connections in my body. I was trying to reverse a 10-year pattern, and I didn't have the core balance training program to guide me, so I was kind of in experimentation mode. But I probably spent the equivalent of about 5 to 6 months in week 1 and week 2 of the program. And that doesn't matter, because guess what? I learned them, and here I am now, and I'm able to go surfing and do the things that I love, and it doesn't matter how long it took me to learn them. So my suggestion to you, NPE, is to keep going. It's okay that you can't hold your pelvis unweighted. What matters is that you can feel the engagement of connecting your back anchor to the floor, and you want to build on that connection. You want to build the strength, and you want to get to the point where your pelvis is feeling less heavy against the ground. It may not be lifted off the ground, it may not be unweighted completely, but maybe it's 50% of the weight or the pressure against the ground, and that's progress. And then next week, maybe you can get to 40%, and then 30%. And it might take you 5 more weeks to be able to get to unweighted, completely unweighted. But once you accomplish that, then it becomes life-changing. And same thing with the front anchors. So you said the front anchor awareness. Yeah, that one's even harder. That one was harder for me. So there will come a time with consistency and persistence where one day 2 nerves, this is the way I look at it, 2 nerves will just touch and connect, and then you will have a breakthrough. And it'll be like a switch flipped. This is what I see happen in the program when students have breakthroughs. And I imagine in my head, the 2 nerves that were gradually getting closer and closer together with this effort over time finally clicked. They finally touched, and the breakthrough happened, and then you build on that. And that's kind of the way the program goes. So that's the hope I can give you. It seems like you're doing the right thing. I'm going down to the question from Jonathan Schneider. Please let me know if I missed a question above that. This is the last question I'm going to answer from the chat for now until later. I'm going to go to the slides and answer prepared questions that we brought. So Jonathan Schneider says, I started with body balance and posture for back pain and studied. Oh, this wasn't even a question, but we'll read it. With Pete Agoscu in San Diego 23 years ago. Tony Robbins turned me on to him, and I'm 75, and the older I get, the better I was. That's awesome. Well, that's even more inspiration. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Agoscu down in San Diego. I did Agoscu back in the day. I did it while I was in PT school, actually. Mixed results from that, but definitely it's been really helpful for a lot of people. So, that's right. My PT school was in North County, San Diego. Egoscu is in North County, San Diego, so very close proximity. It was Michael Kessler that had the question, I think. So here it is. So what helps muscle guarding, and how long should it take to go away? Great question. I feel as if I can get the muscle guarding to stop. It would be a breakthrough. Would deep tissue massage help? Thoughts? Okay, so muscle guarding is much deeper than something that can be reversed from an outside person putting their hands on you. For example, your muscles tighten up because of some some reason, protection mechanism, you go get a massage or you go do a stretching session and you feel loosened up and feels great. So it reversed the problem, right? Well, not really. It just relaxed those muscles temporarily. But if anyone has anyone in this situation has had this experience where within a matter of hours or days, maybe, it could be as soon as 2-3 hours or maybe a day or two, those muscles will tighten right back up. And so that the reason for the tightness is deeper or upstream, we'll call it, of massage. And so what exactly is it? Well, I call it the protection mechanism. It's a long answer, but one simple thing could be, the amount of stress you're under, sympathetic state. If your body's always in kind of like fight or flight mode, that over a long period of time, if you don't switch back into parasympathetic, rest, relax, rest and digest, that creates tension over time, and the tension accumulates. And so if it doesn't have that balance, that ebb and flow, the high tide and the low tide, and it stays just in one side, the accumulation has the effects of chronic muscle tension. So you wanna address this from the mindset component of relaxation techniques, meditation, maybe reflection, and also from a physical perspective as well. So massage can help speed things along. It can help be a catalyst. You can go to the massage therapist and get your muscles relaxed simultaneously while doing something else, such as strengthening the muscles that support your spine. So like the deep core, the deep spinal support muscles, so that the protective muscles can let go and feel safe to relax. But if the spine doesn't have the support it needs, they don't feel safe to let go, because if they let go, then nothing would be supporting the spine. So the body is better off having support that is out of alignment. The pelvis is tilted forward, the spine is in a lumbar hyperlordosis position. That is better. It's out of alignment, but it's still supported, than no support at all. And so the body is just doing the best it can, and so if you can help those muscles have get some help from the deeper muscles, they can let go. So that's another way to look at it. Mind, body, both, and massage, acupuncture, stuff like that can be a catalyst to help, but it's not going to be the solution. So those are my thoughts on that. So that's where I'm going to switch over to the slides, and then we'll go back to the chat after I do a few slides. Thank you for the kind words, Jesse Nelson, Margarita, and Sherry. Yeah, he's a cute little guy. So here we go. First question is from Brian Northey. And Brian says, I completed day 2 with the push-away concept, and this may have been the breakthrough moment in solving my 5 years of back pelvis issues. All right, cool, breakthrough. I love hearing that. What I've learned from today's lesson is that my usual anchor point to the seat is well in front of my sit bones, more towards the middle of my hamstrings. And what seems to result from this is my pelvis has to tilt forward, which then requires an excessive curve to my spine, just above the pelvis to stay upright. This seems to make a ton of sense in explaining my issues, but I've felt that way with other breakthroughs on my journey. I'm curious to hear your comments. So, Brian, you're on day 2. You completed day 2. I don't know, maybe this was a few days back that you wrote this, but it seems to me like this is more of a mental breakthrough, like a wrapping my head around this. I figured this out up here, and which is an excellent thing. And the actual, if you were going to say like this is going to be the cure to my back pain, I think that would only come if after a sustained period of time of implementing the realization, the mental breakthrough, the aha moment. So it's through implementation that I believe that you're going to feel the physical effects. And also, very well, the push away concept could be, you could just do that and grasp it, because a lot of people don't even grasp it on the first time they do this lesson. But if it clicks for you, and you could just do that lesson and apply it in other areas of your life and walk away from the program, it could be potentially life-changing after implementation over a sustained period of time. Weeks, months, potentially just the rest of your life would be the ultimate way to do it. But I think most people need more than that. So I would say, Brian, my comments, my thoughts on this are, it sounds like you're on a fantastic start, and keep going. It's a really good sign that you're going to potentially get a lot of benefit from the implementation, the integration of the push away into the other things that we do, the back anchor, the front anchor, the anchor triad, standing, walking, and stuff like that. So thank you for sharing. I hope that inspires other people, and we will. I'd be happy to hear updates on your progress, and as you get through week 1 and week 2, and I'm sure other students would appreciate that too if you share in the Student Hub. So thank you for sharing, Brian. All right. So next question from Evan Thatcher. This is, all right, congratulations. Thank you very much, Evan. Do you have any tips or pointers on how to protect my back while surfing? Well, that's a very fantastic question. I lost my mouse there. Okay. So as a surfer, I can definitely speak to that. If you're not a surfer and you're watching this, the way I would try to the perspective I would have on what I'm going to talk about is pick your most extreme activity that you love doing and you want to be able to do that may have been stressful on your back, and think of that, because that's what surfing is. It's highly stressful on the spine. And a lot of surfers struggle with back pain, and it has a lot to do with the backward bending of the spine that happens on the pop-up, where you go from laying on your stomach to popping to your feet. There is like a backward bend, like a cobra type maneuver that happens. And if you have stenosis or degenerative disc disease, or even any kind of disc issues, it's going to be a little bit compromising. So how do you deal with that? Let's read the rest of what you have to say, Evan. So, it is surfing that usually re-injures my back. I cannot press my pubic bone into the surfboard when I paddle because my legs float too much. I can keep my abs tight and I can tighten my glutes if that would help. But any other advice would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your help, and I hope you've been getting some sleep with the new addition to your family. Yeah, I had got more sleep last night because Marina knew that I had the live stream today. So I'm giving, actually, what you guys see here right now is the best presentation of myself in 2 weeks. So if you think I'm looking like presentable right now, that's because this is not my normal right now. I got some sleep last night, and I showered and I shaved, I trimmed and all that. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. So to the question about, let's get into this part. So pubic bone into the surfboard. So just like front anchor connection, anybody that knows the front anchor awareness, when you're laying on your stomach on the surfboard, I do recommend connecting your pubic bone. But Evan, you say you can't connect because your legs float. So I'm guessing you must be on a shortboard and a little bit underwater. That's fine. The interesting thing is your legs can and should float, Evan. Your legs can and should float while your pubic bone is connected. And that's because the pubic bone is not part of your legs, right? It's part of the pelvis. So if you can get enough hip extension, this is really one of the breakthroughs I had when I learned that, because I used to dig my knees into the board to 4 as a compensation. And the day I learned to let my legs float up off the board, and not let that extension go into my lower back, the arch go into my lower back, but the extension goes into my hips. So the way that I accomplished that was by keeping my pubic bone connected. It was a breakthrough for me because it was less stress going into my lower back and more going into my hips, which is the hips can handle it. They're designed for that. I kind of want to just grab my skeleton, Scully over there in the corner, and just demonstrate what I mean. So give me a sec. So this is the pelvis, right? We have the pubic bone here, turning sideways. So pubic bone here. That's the front of him. That's the back. Watch this. I'm going to move the leg backwards. Does the leg move backwards? It does. It goes forward and back. But the pubic bone does not move, right? The pubic bone stays in the same position. So the legs can float up off the surfboard, and the pubic bone is unaffected by the movement of the legs. So what you need to be able to do that is hip range of motion. You need hip extension range of motion. And if you don't have that range of motion, you won't be able to do that. And the motion will actually go into your lumbar spine, compressing your discs. So what allows for hip range of motion or hip extension? It's hip flexor length, your hip flexors. So iliopsoas, rectus femoris, if those are too tight, it's not going to allow for this motion. And so that's what we work on in the program, right? So before you go surfing, the best recommendation I can give you is to do the bridge. Lengthen those hip flexors, relax those hip flexors, breathe into them, and then get on your board and connect that pubic bone with those lengthened hip flexors and let those legs float up. So put Scully back. All right, so I think that's enough information, because if I tell you too much, it's going to get convoluted in itself, and you won't be able to implement any of it. So we'll focus on one thing at a time, and that's what I recommend. I don't go surfing without bridging on the sand right before I paddle out. So that's my rule to myself, just because I've noticed the difference, significant difference, and so I recommend that to anybody else who is. There is an activity that you love doing that's stressful on the spine. Get into a rhythm of some kind of routine where you connect and work on your hip flexors right before you do that activity, and you will notice a difference. So I'll take a quick moment to look in the chat. I know there's been a lot of action in there. We have a question from Michael Kessler. I will get to that. Let's see. Happy to be live, Tsipora. All right. Jonathan Schneider, back pain while surfing is better than drowning in the Mavericks in San Mateo, Half Moon Bay. That is 100%. Yeah, that's for sure. Just to chime in, as a lifelong surfer, I have found the front anchors really helpful. Yeah, so the front anchors are really helpful for training. I wouldn't recommend necessarily doing it on the beach because you'll get sand in your face, but really good training at home on the yoga mat for surfing and paddling. Incredibly beneficial specificity, crossover from front anchors to surfing, and not only for the lower back, but also for the neck. The upper front anchors push away takes stress off the neck. So it's extremely beneficial for older gentlemen who still want to go surfing when they're in their 60s and 70s, because that's what takes a lot of surfers out of the water as they get older is neck pain from having to look up on the board. And if you can extend through your upper front anchor, through your thoracic spine, that takes the stress off the neck, just in the same exact way as the hips take the stress off the lower back. And if you can understand those biomechanics, you can apply them to anything in life and take the load off the areas of the spine that tend to take too much of it. Thank you for sharing that, Ivor, or Ivor. I'm told that it's more Ivor is how to pronounce your name. So sorry about the other day when I was saying Ivor. He shortboards in cold water, powerful beach breaks. Yeah, sounds like maybe Mavericks, huh? All right. The bridge. Yes. Okay, so yeah, Michael Kessler, let's just do your question now since I'm in the chat. So I have seen you say you do not recommend static stretching. What is the better replacement to loosen the body up? Dynamic stretching. So either like movement related stretching like yoga, where your muscles are actively engaged while stretching, or there's other types of active stretching. There's several types of active stretching. So PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Basically, it's just when you're in the stretch. Say I'm going to stretch my shoulder here. When you're in the stretch, instead of only passively pulling my arm across my chest, I actually push against it. I push against my resistance with the muscle that's being stretched. So it's actively engaging while in that fully lengthened position. Why is that better? Because it's training the muscle in this new range. Because if you don't train the muscle in the new range, it's just getting stretched into this vulnerable position and it doesn't know how to function there. The nerves don't know how to fire there. And so you're really just stretching a muscle and making micro tears in it, weakening the muscle. But once you add that neuromuscular firing, so that is just an example because I'm sitting at a computer, but you could apply that to any stretch. So you add an active component, an engagement of the muscle while in that new range of motion that it hasn't been in for a while. And you tell the body, oh, this is how I engage. This is how I function in that range. So if I need to shorten, I can. Muscles don't like going into ranges that they don't know how to get out of. That's dangerous. That risks a tear. So they don't go there. And that's why active stretching has a much longer result, longer effects, because you're training the muscle how to be there and how to live there and how to function there. So great question. Yeah, that applies to everyone. Okay, so we did have one more. Back anchor is connecting. This is from Lorraine Chambers. Back anchor is connecting more with my body this week with the front anchors lagging behind, which makes sense to me just in terms of timing of the muscle memory. No pathways being established. For sure, Lorraine. Yeah, there's a reason the back anchor was introduced first. I think if I had the front anchor introduced first, that we would have a lot of people giving up because it just then you're not going to get results from the front anchor usually right away. It takes lots of repetition and mental focus, tuning into your body very deeply for that one to really click. So makes sense to me too. All right, so we're moving along. We're going to go back to the slides, and we have one from John. I believe he's the next one. John Hook the second. I just finished Module 2, and I'm definitely noticing positive improvements. The sciatica pains seem to be disappearing already, and my lower back/SI joint has eased as well, the pain. In an early lesson, you had mentioned that you may notice pain shifting. Ooh, I love the beginning of this question. And not to worry, because it's a positive sign. Curious if TMJ jaw pain is possible as my posture begins to change. Over the past weeks, I've had a lot of jaw discomfort and clicking occur. Have you ever heard of this happening to past students? Maybe I don't have a clear memory, John, of a student bringing this up, but I personally have experienced TMJ, and that was when my back pain was kind of at its worst when I was about 24 years old. That's when I had the realization that my lower back problem was not actually a lower back problem, it was a full body problem, because at that time, when my back pain had gotten to its worst point, my jaw started hurting, my bite was off, both my knees started hurting, and I said, my body's falling apart. And knew for some reason intuitively that it was all connected to the same monster that was causing my lower back to hurt as well. So I decided that I was no longer going to do exercises for my lower back. I was going to do exercises for my whole body. And that was a big shift, and led into the I don't know what you want to call it, but the odyssey that was my discovery of my solution to back pain, my core balance training in a nutshell. So yes, answer is very possible. You won't probably find this on the internet, and they don't teach it in physical therapy school. But I think a lot of people see TMJ and jaw pain as specific to the jaw, or even separate from the rest of the body. But it's related to posture, and the good therapists and the good professionals will agree. It's directly correlated with neck posture. And so there will be a lot of people that say, yeah, it's related to your head and neck posture. There will be less people that say, yeah, it's related to your thoracic spine posture. And there will be even less people that say it's related to your lower back, hips, knees, and feet as well. And I'm in that camp. I think the whole body is interconnected, and you make changes to one area, it goes up the chain or down the chain. And so it may just be that whatever was going on in your body, John, whatever changes that you've made, there may be a compensation that is occurring that's moved up the chain, up the stream, and your jaw is now in a slightly different position. And I don't have an explanation for why, not knowing your body, not having seen your posture or anything. But to answer your question, absolutely 100% it's possible. And the good thing is that your pain moved, which means which is infinitely better than pain that doesn't move. If you're doing exercises for your pain that is somewhere in your body and it does not move, that's the worst case scenario. Or maybe get worse would be the worst case. But the second worst is that it just doesn't change. The next best thing is that it changes or it moves. And hopefully if you keep doing the things that are targeting that pain, because clearly you've targeted the pain to cause it to go somewhere else, continue doing the things that are targeting it, hopefully it will move out of your body. And so that is where my second tip for success in the program is patience, is to have patience. Because sometimes, especially if things have been going on for a long time, it will take weeks or months to get the result that you actually want. But if you pay attention to your body, it's working those imbalances out. And this is a common thing, that the pain will move. So common that I put it in the very first video of the welcome video, essentially, of the program. So let's move on to the next one. This is from Candace. She says, how do you feel about the Pilates reformer with bulging discs? I recently found out I have 3-level bulging discs. A 3-level bulging disc. I am concerned with the weighted reformer may be an issue. It's not so much the reformer, Candace, or the machine that is the issue, but it's how you use the machine. So the machine could be used in ways that are good for you or that are contributing further to your muscle imbalances. And what I've found just through personal experience is that Pilates is a hip flexor heavy practice. So it's really heavily trains the hip flexors. If you think about the exercise they call the hundreds, you're just burning those hip flexors till they're pretty much like they burn out. And then you take a break and you do it again or whatever. So in this program, we do the exact opposite. We work on lengthening those hip flexors. And so that's one of my, just kind of, if you can deduce what I'm saying, that's one of the things about Pilates that I don't love, is that it's kind of doing the opposite of our goal. Now, the machine itself, the reformer, could be used in a different way. And that's in alignment with kind of one of the themes of the program is it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. You could connect with your body in a different way. You could maintain a stronger connection while you do it, or you could do something, a different movement on that reformer, and that would be able to save you from having to sell it or throw it out, because it could be useful to you. It just depends. Now, the next question you ask is, do you think loading weight onto my shoulders when using the reformer laying down should be avoided? I've been using the reformer for several years. I'm at a loss on how to exercise now. I need something to feel productive and tone muscle. Thank you. Weights on your shoulders while laying down. I don't understand, really. I can't fully picture. I guess the resistance would be they're not necessarily weights, they're resistance bands, I'm guessing. So it's going to add a little compression to your spine. If you're not connecting well to your spine and creating a decompression force with your breath and your anchor connection, then it's going to be a negative compression. It's going to be the compression of the machine is going to be winning the tug of war. But if you could use that as that resistance from the machine as a biofeedback to build your decompression, which is the breathing down low into your back, creating that intra-abdominal pressure, and also engaging those deep core muscles. So that creates a squeezing on the spine, and the squeezing actually lengthens the spine. So it's just about how you use it. And what I would recommend from you, Candace, is just to take a little break from the reformer and focus on whatever the things that you have done recently that have been helping you. And then as you feel more confident with this stuff, gradually integrate these concepts, these core connection concepts, into your practice with the machine. Don't go big and overdo it in one session. Just add one little thing at a time from the machine. So 5 minutes on the machine with your back anchor connection, and you can create for yourself a great routine on that machine that can be very helpful to you with your new movement patterns. So hopefully that helps. I'm going to take a look in the chat. We're just going to go back and forth here. We've got a message from, we got a lot of messages. All right. So Magnerita, let's see. I'm just going to read this. All right. So you're having a left-right imbalance. Yes. The answer is, if you have a left-right imbalance, you should be doing different things on your left and right side. And this applies to a lot of people. So it's not different things, but different amounts of focus and effort. So say you're doing, for example, the front anchors challenge, bird dog. Spend more time on the side that is more challenging, more difficult, the weaker side. Spend less time on the strong side. The most obvious one would be the side plank. You know, if you have a left-right imbalance on your body, one side of the plank is going to be more difficult or harder to maintain for a long period of time. So the endurance or the strength could be different, or both, than the other side, right versus left on the side plank. So spend more time on the weak side, or the side with less endurance, and you want to catch up. So in everything you do in the program, apply that strategy, is spend more time, more focus, more effort on the side that you feel is more challenging to maintain connection, and then try to catch it up to the other side. And we're approaching the body at different angles throughout the program. And so eventually you'll get all the angles covered, and you can find that balance. So that's what I recommend. Jonathan Schneider, big mountain skiing. You got the shoulder replacements, and all right. Yeah, a lot of snow this year, Jonathan. So maybe I don't know, hit the bunny slopes, because it's all about, for me, I believe, it's all about progression. So don't jump back into double black diamond, launching off cliffs. Hit the bunny slope and have a nice day where your body feels good at the end of the day. and gradually build from there. And I believe you can do it, especially if you're getting improvement and you stick with the strategy of do more of what's working and less of what's hurting with the program. Road bike, though, is a repetitive activity that is shortening the hip flexors. So before and after the road bike, Jonathan, get down on the floor and lengthen those hip flexors. Wayfinder archery, truck seat support. Ooh, truck seat support. Ooh, variety. I don't know what kind of truck. Is it a Mack truck or a pickup truck? But it's not necessarily about the support. For me, it's about the way that you're connecting with your body while you're there. If you're looking for support, you can do one of those back wedges. What do they call that? A lumbar support. But that's only going to be effective for a half hour to 2 hours. But then that's going to be repetitive trauma too, because the reason it's effective is because it's different. So you change it up. You put it in, you take it out, you put it in, you sit, you move your seat back, move your seat forward, lean it back. Don't lean it too far back, but lean it forward, make the adjustments and get that variety. And that's going to be less repetitive trauma on your body. You drive a tremendous amount. Okay. Well, if your truck seat is the problem, Wayfinder, then consider putting something down on the bottom. I've even heard of people putting a cutting board because it's firm and it fits in the size. It's about the size of a seat. A cutting board down, and you're sitting on a firm, flat surface. And if that's too firm for your sit bones, you can put like a little, soft towel over it for that kind of cushion, but you're going to get that firm flat surface, and that'll be better for alignment and the push away. So cutting board is another option. Kessler, Chiro. How long can it take for the core muscles to take back over? It could be I think the shortest amount of time is 3 months, the length of the program. And the longest amount of time, if you stay consistent, I would say is about a year. Obviously, if you don't stay consistent, then it could take the rest of time. But it's usually a 6 month is my good. 5 to 6 months is a good average for you to really make that. Assuming the back pain's been going on for 5 to 10 years or maybe even longer, 6 months is incredibly fast to make that transition with your movement retraining for it to become like more of a default healthy pattern. It took me about a year because I didn't have the guidance. I was trial and error. Let's keep going with this. Lorna, bridge, uncomfortable. Oh yeah, okay. Kneeling push away is a bit of a bridge regression, Lorna. But if you are having tension on your inner knees, there are things you can do. Throw that stretchy band, like that red one right there. Throw it on around your thighs, above the knees, and just give a little gentle push out. That might help. And if that doesn't, then throw a little ball, a squishy ball, between your knees and give a very, very gentle. Just hold the ball between your knees, and that'll be the gentle force together. I prefer the pushing out, the gentle pushing out, but you have a little bit of an imbalance that's affecting your knees as well, and that's okay. That's part of this whole thing that we're trying to reverse. But yes, to answer your question, you're well informed about the body to be able to see that the kneeling push away is a bridge regression. It's on one side. It's vertical, but you're pretty much doing the same thing. Thank you, Michael Fleur. And it's okay to have a lot of questions because this is a big deal. So yeah, I like the questions. And happy Passover, Jonathan Schneider and anybody else. All right, so let's do some slides. We've got, how many more do we have? We have 5 more slides. I think there was about 10 today. So, Carla, when I walk, my thoracic spine starts to ache after walking for a while. Sometimes it hurts after 10 or 15 minutes, and sometimes it hurts as soon as I start walking. I also have a clicking in my thoracic spine when I move certain ways. I can't stand for longer than 10 minutes without it aching, and then my lower back starts hurting. Okay, not a question, but the clicking in the thoracic spine, if it's repetitive, is indication of potential instability in one of the levels. So that can definitely happen. And parts of the thoracic spine is typically very stiff. And when you have stiff on stiff on stiff and there's no movement happening, usually there will be one level that becomes unstable because all the other levels around it are not moving enough. So all the movement has to go somewhere. And usually it goes in the lower back or it can go into the neck, but sometimes it just picks one level, the weakest link in the chain, and all the movement goes into there. And it sounds like for you, that could be in your thoracic spine. So for that level, Carla, I would avoid doing thoracic mobility movements on that level. So we do the thoracic mobility on the foam roll. And I would avoid the mobility on that clicking level and focus doing the mobility on the levels above and below that are probably stiff. So that's one thing. And then with the spine starting to ache, the thoracic spine in particular, after walking, you're going to have to deal with progression. So, if you can do 10 minutes or 9 minutes, then only do the 9 minutes. Take a little break, find a bench, find a piece of grass to sit on, then give your body a break and get up and do 9 more minutes. Then you just did 18 minutes, right, with a little break. Or if you can do 14 minutes, then you might be able to get to 28 minutes, right? If you went to 15, then it would start hurting. So you go to 14, take a little break, and then you do 14 more. And then maybe the next week you can get to 15 minutes, so you can get to 30. And so that's the progression of it all. And then I don't know how far you are in the program, Carla, but once we get through like the front anchors stuff, you'll learn some thoracic spine control and hopefully also have loosened up those other levels of the thoracic spine that might be overly stiff, and the whole spine might be moving better. So that would be a long-term goal for you, is more even, uniform movement throughout the thoracic spine and the entire spine. So next one is from Yindra, and she says, when doing back anchor challenge 1 and 2, all right, is it okay to keep my head and shoulders slightly up? It would help me to hold the core connection better. I don't love that, Yindra, because it's a compensation. And the reason it's a compensation is because it's going to be heavily using your rectus abdominis, those 6-pack abs. And that is a heavy compensatory muscle for when the deeper muscles of the core are not doing their job fully. And so I don't love it, but it could be a way to get you where you want to be, with the goal of gradually letting your head and shoulders be up slightly in the beginning as you do the movements, but with the goal of slightly keeping them lower and lower day by day, week by week. This is not like a one session strategy. This is a long-term strategy of eventually getting to the point where you can keep your head and shoulders resting, even relaxed on the floor, and be able to maintain that connection primarily with the deeper muscles of the core, and keep your back anchor connected and be able to do the movements. Ideally, actually, what I would recommend even more so than that last recommendation is just to move your arms and legs less excursion, less further away from your center, less distal, and just keep it more proximal, more close to your body, and just do small movements so that you can keep those head and shoulders relaxed and still be able to do the training. So you're not training a bad habit, you're not training a compensation, and then you gradually progress the distance that you can move your arms and legs while maintaining that connection. So hopefully that helps. The next question from Ellie When I start to breathe while in the bridge, I turn into dough girl. I love it. I've never heard dough girl, but I feel like I should have heard that a long time ago. How do I fix this? Am I overthinking? Okay. The thing about the bridge, Ellie, is that it seems really simple, but there's so much when we add in the breathing and the core connection and the pelvis position, even just those three things, and there's more, but we'll just leave it at that. There's so much going on. There's so much to focus on, and really, the way our brains work, we can only actively really focus on one thing at a time. And so you focus on the breathing, and then you lose something else. You lose the back anchor connection, or some, So the way to deal with that is to simplify. Go back to the back anchor awareness and the progression, and really master those, because really what you want to do is you want to sink those connections down into more of like a subconscious thing. And then when you add another layer, you're able to focus on that because the other stuff has been patterned in. Now that takes a lot of time. But yeah, a lot of people are wondering this when you add in the breathing and then you lose everything else. And I don't think you're overthinking. I think that you are expecting too much of your neuromuscular system to be able to learn this stuff faster. And so my recommendation is just to be patient, work on this stuff longer, spend more time on it, and it's the best thing you can do, because this is a long-term game. And so you add the layers one at a time. You don't add them two or three at a time, because ultimately they will all be less beneficial. And then you prioritize the breathing as well. So it might be the first layer you focus on in the back anchor awareness, and then you add the back anchor progression while maintaining the breathing, and then you add bridging up while maintaining the back anchor connection and the breathing. So that would be the thing that I recommend. And it sounds like you're doing great, actually, Ellie, because you have that awareness of dough girl. And that's really something that's hard to teach, is the body awareness. So I think I'm going to guess that you're probably doing great, and keep at it, and have the patience that things will come in time. The breathing, it's very, there's a lot going on, and it's hard to do the breathing and all the other things at the same time. But familiarity helps a lot. Quick look in the chat before I do the last two questions. We've got one from, Wayfinder, you confirmed it's a pickup. So yeah, try the cutting board. You're very welcome. Marcella, I have lumbar spondy. Besides sciatic pain, I'm getting knee pain when I go down the stairs. My previous PT recommended going backwards to avoid extension ability to go down stairs. Any suggestions? Backwards down the stairs, huh? I don't know if that makes sense to me. Not immediately. It doesn't immediately make sense to me. The spondy is tough. Backwards. It's a total compensation. It's a total movement avoidance behavior. And we're trying to reverse, fear avoidance, movement avoidance behaviors. So the goal would be for you to be able to go downstairs forwards in a healthier way. And if you're in the program, Marcella, then I believe you're in the right place to start definitely helping the causes of the spondy. Start stabilizing that spondy. And if that spondy can be more stabilized, those muscles that are protecting it might be able to let go, which might allow your knees to be in better alignment, and you might be able to go downstairs forward. So I don't know how far you are in the program, but I suggest that you double and triple down on week 1 and week 2 of the program, and really build those connections as strong as possible, and use like superhuman focus to maintain those connections when you go down the stairs or do other things, and see if doing them in like, not slow motion, but mental slow motion, where you're focused and you're aware of your movements, can help. And over time, there will be short-term benefits, but it probably won't be 100% pain-free going downstairs. But over time, over the long term, you can gradually I believe you can get there. Yeah, for sure. Ellen Roll, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yep, life is different forever. Yeah, Marcella, yeah, I got you by going downstairs backwards. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that, and hopefully that helps for you. I have heard that before, but it just doesn't it makes sense. Like, ooh, it'll be easier. So like, if you got a ton of stairs to do and you want your body to feel okay when you're done going down them, and you got to do it a bunch more, then it's a good kind of like get me through this strategy. But it's definitely not going to be a strategy that moves you forward in the progress of getting your body better, because it's a compensation. It's the opposite. You're changing the way you move your body, which we don't want to do. We want to move towards natural movements, not away from them. So yeah, as a strategy, a short-term strategy for tolerance and coping, but not a long-term strategy for improving the function of your body. Okay, so we got 2 more slides, and we are going on an hour. I didn't even think I would go for an hour today, but here we are. So here's one from Jera. And let's see, it says, I still feel like when I do the front anchors, my lower back arches. You're not alone, Jera. I've watched the videos, but don't know how to stop that completely. Thanks for any help. There's a lot of resources. There's streams where I've walked people through the front anchors awareness and push away, and past streams. I'm not going to do that on this stream, but if you go back to how to make progress while in back pain, I think that's the name of the stream. I have a feeling I talk people through the front anchors awareness position if they're feeling pain while doing it. And so I would recommend that, Jera, but just for now, turn down the intensity to 1%. So if you've been doing the 10% rule, go down to do 10% of that, and just meditate on your body. Get to the point where you can just lay in the front anchors position and breathe and allow your back muscles to relax, and just have a 1% connection, which would be your pubic bone connected to the floor, but not necessarily pushing away from it. Just feeling that you have some abdominal activity that's has the awareness to kind of gently pull it to the floor. And if you need to bring in your glutes, 1% of your glutes, to do that as well. But ultimately what that should be doing, it should be opening up the lumbar spine, which would be the opposite of your lower back arching. So lower the intensity, and then patience and more repetition, and listen to your body. So if you feel like it's actually worsening your body, then maybe take a break from it and do the things that are helping. If you feel like the back anchors are giving you benefits, do more of them. Get your body in a little better shape, a little stronger, a little more balanced, and then maybe come back to the front anchors when you feel like you've got a little more solid foundation with that. And you might find that the body has changed enough that it reacts differently and doesn't need to protect enough, because ultimately that's what's happening, Jera, is the lower back muscles are wanting to protect from hyperextension and compression of the discs with that position. It's a vulnerable position, and you're not alone. But many people have gotten through this obstacle and broken through, and how to break through, where they are able to, after lots of struggles and effort, now do this movement with the goal, which is to have more activity in the abdominals and the glutes, and less activity in the lumbar muscles. So, all right, we got one from Carrie, and Carrie says, my chin really wants to jut, and the back of neck seems right when trying to tuck chin. Seems right. I don't know if you meant to say tight. Okay, because it would make sense if you meant to write tight there. But if you are saying seems right when trying to tuck chin, it could seem right. So what else? Any advice or exercises for stretching neck to help with this? I think you meant tight. Okay. So I don't recommend chin tucks because they can be stressful on the discs of the cervical spine. And so you can like have a gentle intention of lengthening. So rather than chin tucks, Carrie, I recommend just a gentle intention of just, and my hair is going to be in the way, but lengthening the back of the neck while I'm sitting here, and I'm pushing away through my sit bones, connecting to my sit bones, and that push away force is helping me to just have a gentle lengthening of these muscles back here, and it's a 1% intention. It's not even an effort, it's just an intention. And and over time, over the period of minutes and hours and days, that has a massive effect. So that would be much more preferable to me than a chin tuck, because chin tucks are not training for any kind of functional thing in life. It's just like a correction, and it encourages what is called shear, and shear is friction on the discs. You're literally taking one disc on the top of another and moving it in a shear force on the disc below it. So that's my advice. And the jutting chin will improve as the entire body's muscular balance improves. And so lengthening the back of the neck in the back anchor connection position. Definitely the back anchor awareness is a great opportunity to just have that intention of just lengthening in the back of the neck and forget about the chin. The other thing is that the chin is like the last thing, right, on the stream, and upstream of that is the neck, the jaw, the neck, and upstream of that is the full body, the core connection and all that. So you don't want to ever address the end of the rope or the pain. This would be the pain right here. You go upstream of it, and then it takes time for that trickle down effect, if we're using the stream analogy, to result in what you want, but it's much more effective. A visualization for the lengthening of the back of the neck is a helium balloon. They say a helium balloon attached to the top of your head, and that amount of just helium, that amount of force just pulling up on your head to lengthen your neck. So I just take it one step further, and I say the helium balloon is not attached to like the crown of your head, but move it back. So not here, but here, and it's attached to the back of your skull and lengthening there. And so we really want to lengthen the back of the neck. We don't, the front of the neck is often too lengthened already. That's stretched out. So when we do the chin tuck, which I don't encourage, it's actually shortened here. So we're not trying to lengthen the whole neck. We're only trying to lengthen the back of the neck, which gets shortened in this chin. It gets shortened in the predictable pattern of posture. So that we're only lengthening the back. And so the balloon, the helium balloon, is attached to the back of the skull. So hopefully that helps. And I think that's the last one. And I see a message retracted. I'm curious what that says, but who knows? Marcella, thank you. I'm in the program starting. Okay, cool. You're just in the beginning of the program, Marcella. So you've got a lot of hope. I want to give you a lot of hope that the things that you're going to learn and do in the program are going to address all the things that you mentioned. directly. The muscular balance in the body that affects your knees is directly, it's intimately connected to the same pattern of muscle imbalances that causes chronic back pain and all kinds of other things. So yeah, so that's it, guys. No more questions in the chat, no more slides. We went for about an hour and 15 minutes. I'm a father, I have a son, it's pretty crazy, and I'm glad I could be here with you all today. So if you enjoyed the stream, please hit that like button and help support me and my family and Core Balance Training movement. And something even better is you could support your friends or family or people that you love by sharing this with them. You can send them the link, and if they're struggling with pain, you can just send it over to them and just help them to find hope that there is a solution to chronic back pain, and that's an even better gift than hitting the like button. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Magna Rita. Thank you, everybody who showed up live. I'm grateful for you, and I encourage you to stay consistent, even in times like I'm going through right now in my life, where it's challenging to be in your routine. But if you could just break up those interruptions with getting down on the floor even for 5 minutes within like a 3-day period, it makes it a lot easier. And then also building the buffer. So until next time, everyone, get down on the floor and connect to your core, and I will see you next week. Take care.